I guess it's on me to kind of start this now. What
It
have I
doesn't
got
have,
myself
doesn't
into by
have to be
organising the
you.
meetings? Or it's on me to pick someone to have an opinion. That's what Karen used to do to me. If I'd suggested the article, she was like, Liz, do you have an opinion?
All right. Yes, I see. Maybe that's why people don't suggest articles.
Well, if anyone has a burning question or comment to make about the article, please go ahead. And if not, I have written down at least 2 talking points that we can start with at least. Okay, I guess it's on me then. Well, one of the things I was thinking about when I was reading it is I wasn't 100% convinced that this aggravated impoliteness was really clearly defined as distinct from just impoliteness. And to me, some of the examples that I then read, I couldn't work out how to say how one would say them in a simply impolite, non-aggravated way if they were then claiming that it was aggravated. And one of the ones I picked out was the taste is just similar to that of a food stall, which to me just reads as impolite with no kind of extra embellishments that would make it an aggravated impoliteness. But I don't know if anyone else had an opinion on that.
Well, this was exactly my fault of the article. Like, I don't understand why it's aggravated, but then I thought it's to do with restaurants reviews, that they typically are seen as this, but I don't know because I feel like I don't know enough about the area, this specific. I mean, I only know lots of Jaworski that did a lot of research on restaurant reviews. In any case, yeah, I was totally unconvinced about the aggravated impoliteness here, and I also found it was not clearly defined, and I don't know what it added personally. But then I thought, the article says there is a lot of research on aggravated impoliteness, which I haven't actually read. So
neither have I. Just saying.
therefore, maybe that's me.
Yeah, it's not my exact area either.
I see what you mean. Yeah. I think I'm trying to remember this text, but I think, is it because the notion of aggravation is based on aggravation in Karl Popper's conventionalized impoliteness formulae?
Yeah, that's
Which,
exactly right.
yeah,
According to the article, anyway.
which of course are they were, if I remember, they were identified because by themselves they weren't conventionalized impolite. It was only when they appeared with a conventionalized expression that they were, if you like, aggravating in some way. And I see, I agree. It's very difficult in practice to tease out, which is the aggravated bit.
Yeah, I mean, they have a little table of all the strategies that they identified, and some of them I definitely agree with, where they've put like it's extremely rubbish or completely disgusting. Like disgusting is like impolite on its own, completely disgusting is clearly ramping up the disgustingness. But then ones like the taste is similar to that, is just similar to that of a food stall. I don't see where I mean, that's an unfavorable comparison. That's where that falls in within this strategy.
But it also has to do with, because that's actually what I also wondered about. She said, or they actually don't know, but the author said, I'm sorry. The author said they followed Rand's and that they added their own categories as well, but I also don't know why exactly, why those. I'm assuming that they were in the data, but I felt they could have said maybe a bit more about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I agree. I agree. I mean, Karl Popper has written so much, and he's not really referenced in there. The categories, he says, or she says, these 3 are from this, and then the rest 5, I think, are from my own head on the basis of the examples. But I mean, what about Jonathan's work? I mean, he has said so much that, you know, I found it a bit strange, you know, that his work is missing.
It also seems partially that the aggravation strategies sort of draw heavily on work on certain speech acts and the idea of intensifiers and upgraders. So that's one of the things that's quoted here. And we can see that in the use of, you know, adverbs and so on when they talk about it was very bad. But then, you know, the author brings up the category of taboo words like rubbish and stupid, which to me isn't really an intensifier, it's just an impoliteness strategy in and of itself. So I'm not sure how that is aggravated.
No, they aren't taboo words as far as I'm concerned, actually.
Yeah, that's
Anyway.
exactly what I was thinking. That, I mean, is stupid. Perhaps my understanding of taboo is not, you know, the same, but I mean, is stupid and what is the other one? A taboo word?
Rubbish. Yeah. I
Rubbish,
mean, you
yeah.
know, it's just a negative assessment, isn't it? Rubbish, you know, an informal negative assessment. And
Yeah.
of course, if it is uttered in the presence of the referent to it, then it's insulting. But that doesn't make it a taboo word.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
can I just say in relation to that, and this sort of moves on, I was wondering, and this might be this is not the paper I would have written, but I was wondering whether an interesting angle could have been, instead of looking at, are the reviewers doing impoliteness and how are they doing it? The question of, are they being offended, maybe based on what kind of expectations or perceived rights do they have when they go to a restaurant, and what kind of obligations does the restaurant have, and where are the sort of failures, and how is that expressed in the reviews, rather than looking at it from, are they being impolite to the restaurant? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does to me. You know, I tend to be a bit what's the word? I don't know, fundamentalist about this, but you know, whenever I see things like this, my first sort of thought is sort of, well, is this impoliteness at all? I mean, for it to be impolite, presumably we have to assume, and I guess we can online, that the restaurant is reading this stuff. The restaurant concerned is reading this stuff, but you can't guarantee it. So yeah, being offended. I guess what the authors would say is that being offended is the motivation for the impoliteness. But I know what you mean. Yeah, exactly. They're expressing outrage, as it were. That might have been, yeah. Or yes, you can turn it round. In that case, the negative comments are a rationalization of the outrage, or a rationalization of the offense. I think that might be a really interesting way to take it, because of what that might do is cause more attention to whole texts rather than picking out particular, you know, largely lexical features. I think she quotes one text, is it number 1 in the examples? Where is it? I can't find it now. And oof, yeah, it's on page 8 or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it isn't, if you look at it, it isn't particularly rude. In that I can find, where is the aggravation? Okay, it tasted very bad. Simply a failure. Okay, have all these adverbials. Tasted very normal. But because it's long, and because it's, should we say, it comes across as quite measured in its prose. I don't know to what extent that's a case of tidying it up in translation. It is actually, it seems to me, very damning indeed. More damning, certainly more damaging to the target than something that says what a load of rubbish, or something like that,
This is on a bit of a different, like a tangential topic to that, but reading this one as well, I think it's really interesting that in this case, calling something normal or ordinary is quite damning. And I think this would only be this is only the case because they took ones that were rated in the top 20. And I don't think they made enough of that in the article itself of how much that affected the type of criticism that was drawn. Because I found it interesting that there isn't much complaining about price. But I guess people would expect to pay a lot if they're going to go to one of the top 20. So that's kind of a nothing. They expect it to be expensive, and it is expensive. That's no surprise. But they expect it to be exceptional. So when it's just normal or average, that's like really bad. It needs to justify its spot in that top 20.
Yeah. Yes.
I think another very sort of funny example of that is in example 11, when it first says too awful to eat, and then the person says, I don't even have the desire to take photos, which is a very funny criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that one a lot.
Yes. I'm still looking at number 1, and I'm thinking there are supposedly 4 different kinds of aggravated politeness here. And so, okay, I mentioned the various adverbials and so on, intensifiers. The second one is unfavorable comparison. And I think I cannot construe that. I cannot understand that as an intensifier myself. It's simply detailed criticism, isn't it?
If I
I
can
know I'm
add
torn on that
something.
one.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Irene, please.
Yeah.
So there's a PhD student who's doing an exchange year at my university. She's from, I think originally actually also from Guangzhou. I don't know how you pronounce it, where the reviews are taken from. And then she was sharing recently how online, these social media SNS comment sections are actually in China. And she said that at least when people are complaining about for example, issues with the government and what the government's doing, that a lot of the things that people post are mainly mock polite, and really direct criticism isn't really seen that much. I don't have facts to back me up on this, or it's really just what I heard from her. But in reading the article and not really quite getting, like everyone else has said already, the aggravated impoliteness and really if this is actually impolite or if it's just making a comment, constructive criticism, or if things are just getting lost in translation. But I wondered if maybe these things that are seemingly, at least when translated into English like this, they don't seem as intense or as impolite, that maybe it's the cultural background that we're missing, that we can't quite understand, that and maybe within this context of a lot of things being very mock polite, these seem actually really intense. Yeah.
I think that's quite an important point. I think though it would still be a case of what you're saying is that some of this stuff, because of that context, this stuff is very impolite. But as I understand it, aggravation of the impoliteness is supposed to be something separately identifiable, or that's how it's presented anyway. Yes, okay, so restaurants are a safe place to be really direct and in your face and so on. So they let it all hang out there. Yeah.
I think Irene's right, because having done like some reading on Chinese politeness and impoliteness, this kind of bold on record criticism is not so common. Definitely there does tend to be some kind of mitigation strategy or exactly indirectness, as Irene was saying.
Yeah.
And this does feel unusual by Chinese standards.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, if I can add, also in the example again, also the idea of the emoji and the thumbs down, I can't really see that either as, not even as impolite in itself. It's a simple critique. I don't like it, so thumbs down. It can be impolite and even more definitely aggravating the level of impoliteness. It seems like an evaluation, negative evaluation.
Yeah, this is obviously the issue the conceptual issue we're all having trouble with, really, isn't it? It's another example of it.
May I add something else, something different? Sorry, at some point, but I don't have it in front of me, he says something about Greek, and he uses the wrong reference. He says that Al-Tahmazi or something says this about the Greek financial crisis, which is not the case. I mean, he refers to the wrong person, the wrong article.
Alas.
Oops.
I'll find it. It is, no.
Is it the bit where they say Al-Thamazi explores the way
Yes.
Greek Facebook and YouTube comments exploit
Exactly,
impoliteness?
Yes, but it can't be that author, that article, because if you look at the references, I mean, I was surprised to see, somebody called that Al-Tahmazi, whatever, to talk about Greek. And I looked at the reference, and I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
you're right. It
about
is wrong.
Greek.
That's on me. I edited this one.
But I mean,
You
you're
can
not
blame me for that
supposed.
kind of mistake.
No, because
saying
you're not
it.
supposed to know these things. I mean, we can't know everything. Probably it's the previous, Vasilaki who
I
talks
think
about
it is,
these
looking at
things.
the
Yes.
references.
Yeah. Because she talks about leaders, etc. So it must be her. And then he concludes, or she concludes, sorry,
It's she.
by saying it's a she. No?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, she concludes by saying that these two authors, blah, 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 show this, which is just one author, because, I mean, both comments refer to Vasilaki, not to the other person.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I hadn't even noticed that.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't know. You can't know everything. I spotted it because the name sounded a bit strange to me to be talking about Greek, the Greek crisis. So I thought, okay, who is he or she? Let me look it up. And that's why, but I mean, you can't know everything. And you know, stylistically, she, sorry, uses etc. all the time. This and
Oh, I
that.
do that too.
But you know, when you have, as in this case, when you have such as this and that, you don't need etc.
True.
Or including this and that, you don't need etc. Or this
Absolutely.
and that, etc. And she overdoes it. I mean, etc. is all over the place. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of editing. And these are diseases.
Develop one's own obsessions doing that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
But
it is.
I know what you mean. I mean, there's lots of examples like that. People writing for example and then writing etc. You know, if you've written for
Yeah.
example before a list, why do you need etc.? You know?
Yeah, or such as, you don't need it.
Yeah, yeah.
On a different topic.
Yeah, okay,
Go on.
sorry.
In the conclusion, because I'm interested in like identity construction and that sort of thing, all of the conclusion parts stood out to me as being quite interesting and being something that might have been quite nice to explore a bit more in the article, but I know you can't do everything. And then you end up with an article that's like 15,000 words long. So I get not being able to do everything. But I found this last bit really interesting where they were saying what would be the motivation to write a very highly negative review. And that the authors sort of hypothesized that the people who wrote those reviews may want to establish an identity as an expert or a gourmet who has good taste in food, or that they are a valuable customer who deserves better service, or that it's just a kind of releasing of strong negative feelings and therefore establishing a situated identity of being a powerful customer who pays great attention to the overall dining experience.
But those suggestions are not mutually exclusive either, I don't think.
No, I don't think they meant,
yeah,
I don't think Xiaoyu meant them to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be a strategic reason for doing impoliteness.
Or politeness, for that matter.
Well, yeah.
I
But
think,
also, but there she echoes. No, I just want to say the author echoes the 2014 study by, was it again?
Vasquez?
Yeah, Vasquez, right? That seems to be that they were saying. So I don't know. I know that there is also research in linguistics on like how apparently people who's like there's this article from Jaworski, I think from Stanford. They've done a lot of research on restaurant reviews and linguistics rather than pragmatic politeness. But I think they are saying that they also look at identity, and they say also, I think that there was some kind of, because it was also in the popular press about how critics, like negative restaurant reviews, show like the way they're structured or something, and also the language that is used is similar to that of people that have survived trauma or something like that. So yeah, there's this kind of weird thing. I'll show you the article because I let my students in journalism write it up. So that's why I know the article, but it's already quite old. It's from 2007 or so.
I mean, that's interesting because I mean, I don't, I can't say I'm an avid reader of restaurant reviews or anything like that, but I kind of feel that my expectation is that if a restaurant review is going to be negative, it has to be funny. It has to be witty, so to speak. But I mean, I guess maybe if you use the sort of language of serious trauma, it perhaps that's the effect it has. I don't know.
I was just going to make a point related to negativity. I guess one of the reasons why it happens in websites like that is because people are more attracted to negativity. People like to read the comments and posts over the internet. It calls their attention. The worse the posts are, the more aggressive they can be, the more viewers, the more they are liked. So I think it's just to generate more social engagement. And this must be one of the reasons why there are so many negative reviews. Because of this feeling of superiority that they perhaps can express.
Yeah. Yes. Of course, I mean, you know, this article selected negative reviews anyways. We don't know how many positive reviews there are on this same platform. But yes, it's as other people are saying, you're quite right. It's a question of it, you know, it's an identity thing, isn't it? Establishing some kind of identity.
It establishes membership. Yeah, people like to gossip, to point their finger, to find faults, and this brings about social engagement. I think it's pretty much about that. Enriching social bonds by being negative.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, it will have. I think there. Sorry, I think when we even the author mentions, right, it's the top 20 restaurants. So also they are really doing something very tactically, maybe by giving a 1-star review, whereas all the other star reviews of those restaurants will be 4 or 5-star reviews, right? And that is not, as Liz also said, isn't really discussed at all in the article, but I think actually has an effect on the reviews themselves, like why they are posting those reviews there. I don't know. I think it's different than reviewing.
Reviewing a movie, it would be different.
But also maybe the expectation, they will go to those restaurants with the expectation that they are, you know, as you would to a normal restaurant, but maybe they have extra expectations because
that's
it's
true.
20, yeah.
That's true, yeah.
I also could think of some motivations that weren't mentioned in the article. Which, like, I've certainly seen on, for example, on like TripAdvisor or other, like Google reviews, where the restaurants, I've seen sometimes that the restaurants do like talk back to people who've left reviews, either sometimes to like refute their claims. Someone will leave like a really negative review and they'll be like, you all came in drunk and abused our server. How dare you say it was our fault, sort of thing. But that aside, which is always very funny, I was thinking that some of the motivations, or at least when I leave a negative review of somewhere, I'm not ever doing it for like clout or engagement. I'm usually doing it either for like an altruistic warning to future customers that, hey, you know, sometimes at this place things might go wrong and you should be aware that this is a thing that they're not very good at. But I also wonder if some others might be motivated by either attempting to receive like compensation from that restaurant, because I've seen some restaurants offer people like, oh, come again and like leave us a better review and the meal's on us this time and let's prove we can do better, sort of thing. I've seen restaurants do that in response to negative reviews. And also I wonder if, because these restaurants are top 20 rated, if it's a bit of a kind of like revenge motivation, like they want to knock down that number of stars by leaving a really bad review because they don't think that star rating is deserved.
Yeah.
But this is just me like spitballing of potential reasons, more potential reasons that someone might leave a really like extremely negative review of somewhere.
Yeah, we can't tell. We
No,
can't
of
tell
course.
how true these are, you know, how sort of actual customers, you know, wrote this, or they did it for some other reason, you know.
Yeah, I was just, yeah, just thinking of the one time.
No,
that
you are
wrote.
right. You are right. We can't tell what I mean, we don't have verification.
Mm.
of, you know, these people, they were actual customers, you know, who were disappointed and they write these reviews. In the same way that we don't know about those who write positive reviews, you know, they may be friends of friends and, you know, they write positive reviews because that's, you know, kind of advertisement for their friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it'd be interesting to look at that. You know, are there transactional motives behind the, you know, like someone wants a free meal, or they're actually giving information useful, or is it some of it interpersonal, which someone mentioned of want to be part of a group, or that, or maybe it's just personal for self-promotion. And that, you know, I think you could sort of, maybe it's a little bit going with Halliday, but you know, looking at the potential motivations behind these negative reviews.
How would you look at that, though?
Probably looking at the text itself, but maybe from a more discursive point of view, is what are they actually transmitting? So maybe motivation's the wrong word, but I think at least you could look at the text and see what is the message that's being sent out.
Yeah. Yeah, what Ibby said about doing being offended or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. I guess the fact that you know, as we've said, several people have now said from different points of view that you can't trust these comments at all, you know, is a good reason for studying it as politeness or impoliteness rather than serious assessments, you know.
I also don't think it's mentioned in the article, but correct me if I'm wrong, that this website, this Dajong that they're using for commenting, I don't think it says whether or not people can like rate each other's reviews, or if one has to have a profile to post on there, or if commenting upon reviews that are left is allowed. And knowing whether that interaction is allowed might help you uncover some of the motivations. Like if there's some kind of on-site karma from making a review that's very, you know, people mark it as helpful or some such, whether that kind of thing is an affordance of the website, that could help uncover some of the motivations for why one would post a review at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm looking at example 9 at the moment, and going back almost to where we started, on page 13 it is, and you know, this is an example of extremely as an intensifier, you know, she writes exaggerates the bad taste, but I mean the most damning thing again is the bit that comes afterwards. I really wanted to throw up, it seems to me. And that's why I have problems understanding a notion in a way of aggravated impoliteness at all. Do you see what I mean? You know, I mean that people often, well, I don't know, again, maybe it's a translation thing, you know?
But is it also to do because maybe is the author confusing intensification with aggravation? So actually,
yes, but again, both of those things, certainly intensification is conventionally regarded as a sort of a lexical or phrasal thing, isn't it? Phrasal phenomenon. I'm saying that what really sticks the knife in is the clause, I really wanted to throw up. And I wonder how you can handle that. Maybe other people don't feel the same. If I was the restaurant owner reading this review, you know, this comment, it would be that would really get me.
I think that's true. The author doesn't really even analyze that, right?
Well, no, because it doesn't fit into the framework, does it? Because it's a whole clause.
Mm.
Would that fit in Jim, to this, I don't know if I remember it correctly, but Edmonton House, when they talk about topping, that it's something said and there's something even greater that might be within that exaggerated impoliteness.
Uh-huh. Okay, I don't know that, but they talk about, what is it, topping?
Topping, they call it topping. Someone says something, then you come with something even stronger. Or sometimes just to finish off what someone said.
So when you say something there, you are talking about a whole predication, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah, yes.
I
Right.
mean, they don't talk about politeness, but it seems to be in that area.
Yeah, same. Now I'm looking at example 10 and I'm thinking it's the same kind of problem, really, that, that's an unfavorable comparison, apparently. It is negative if we assume the owner of this restaurant or the people working at this restaurant are reading this, then I guess you can call it impolite. But what makes it impolite is the comparison. Nothing particularly aggravated in there, is there?
I think another category that's questionable is the unpalatable question, which the examples seem, quite weak. In table 1, the example is how could it be evaluated so highly, which I'm not sure how it is an unpalatable question.
Is
And
that
then
is that in table 1?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it is one of the categories proposed by Culpeper, so why not referring to him? I found it was strange, as
but
Professor Maria said.
I'm looking at Culpeper's unpalatable questions, examples of them. And the reason they're unpalatable is because they contain presuppositions. Yeah. Why do you make my life impossible? Which lie are you telling me? Now, how could it be evaluated so highly? I can't see a presupposition in there, really.
And I think the example that they give in example 7 is even less unpalatable. So it reads, we ordered Asian swamp eel clay pot, but the attendant took it wrongly and served as Chinese sausage clay pot ? And I think that's meant to be
Well,
an
because it's got
unpalatable
question
question.
marks, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a question. It's not a question, but again, I was thinking it may have to do with the translation here. Because, I mean, but here the categories are a mixed bag, different kinds of things put together as different categories.
Yeah. I find that quite a common phenomenon in sort of our field. When I say our field, I mean very generally our fields, or linguistics, or shall we say various kinds of linguistics applied, that you often get sort of categorization, which I find difficult because it's putting together as members of the same set things which are obviously different animals, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But isn't that what a peer reviewer will be able to notice, hopefully?
Yes, there you go. Some things get through.
Sorry.
It's all right. Of course, when we have this kind of discussion, inevitably we tend to be picky and talk about the things that we find difficult to understand or accept. What are the good things about this article?
Well, I wondered what you thought of the data collection, whether that was quite systematic and quite comprehensive as well, because they had like 100 reviews, and in the end 92 or so, I think, and then they had another person code this as well, so 2 people coded it. Although,
Mhm.
yeah, the coding is weird, but
Yeah, yes.
I did like how they split what like aspect of the what's the word? What aspect of the restaurant they were kind of targeting with their review, what they were taking a stance towards, in other words.
Hmm.
And it was interesting that it's not just the food, that there's so many other reasons that that kind of service interaction can go wrong.
like the topic,
Yes.
like what they call topics, right?
I can't remember what she says about, because she tries to not exactly correlate, but see if there's a relation between the topic targeted and the nature of the impoliteness. Yeah, what does she say about that?
Yeah, that definitely exists. Where is that? I think somewhere
Section
near the
4,
conclusion.
section 4.3. Yeah, starting on page 17.
Oh, there's the table as well, which shows the table that's kind of sideways on page 19.
Oh, right.
Well, it's sideways for me anyway.
Yeah, sideways for me too. Isn't there a way of making it the right way up? There must.
I wish.
You can just turn the page. You have Preview, right? Or Adobe.
Not the software I'm using. I can't turn the page. I can turn my head.
You'd be able to, if it's a
That works.
PDF, you have a PDF viewer, you should be able to just turn the one page.
Well, I'm going to look at what conclusions are drawn from it. Be easier.
So the food got the most preceding intensifiers.
And
The
indignant
service got the
exclamations.
most indignant exclamations, or
Yeah.
at least
How
it
dare
was
they?
mostly indignantly exclaimed about. As was service also drew unpalatable questions. Emoji were mostly in relation to food. Post-positional intensifiers, I can't even remember what that means, were for service. And there were very few what they just defined as taboo words, and they were mostly related to the food, but the like raw numbers are so low for taboo words that, you know, who knows, but it's not their fault that there weren't many in the data.
Mm.
The numbers for a lot of the other categories are, well, actually for some of them still quite low, but you know,
that's also
what
the
can you
taboo
do?
words. Wouldn't they be filtered out? Like if you use slurs on Google or certain taboo words, definitely you would like, right? Those reviews would be flagged for or insulting language, or you would use swear words. I think it's probably not that easy to use taboo words.
That's a point. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and you'd think on a Chinese website that maybe the censorship would exist to some extent.
And unless it's been decided, as Irene suggested, that this is a, this is a safe space. It's just,
a free for
it's
all.
not political. It's just restaurants, right?
Yeah, very true. And the website itself does still constrain the reviews to certain categories,
Mm-hmm.
which the writer acknowledges. The affordances of the website are like, you must rate the website based on the restaurant, even based on these 5 things. And therefore it's unsurprising that those things are most targeted, because that's like the boxes they're able to fill in.
Yeah.
But that is a nice, from the perspective of like data collection, that's quite a nice thing from the perspective of the analyst to already
Yeah,
have,
yes.
okay, the writer thought this was related to food because they put it in like the food box or whatever of the review. It's quite nice to already have had at least some sort of writer self-selected category.
Yes.
So what I find is interesting, somewhere it says that there is research that shows that very often reviewers will try to not follow sort of preset limitations of what kind of aspect you're meant to review. And that, I think, obviously that's not the topic of the paper, but I feel like that's a really interesting sort of thing to maybe look at. In what ways are reviewers trying to defy what they're meant to do and the rules of a website?
Yeah. Yes. Well, you know, it's very, let's face it, if you had an unpleasant restaurant experience, it's quite likely that it'll involve more than one of these imposed categories anyway, isn't it? So, and yet you're still forced to choose one. But maybe for that reason, as you say, people trying to sort of strain at the bounds, they will add other aspects, other topics too.
Well, we're nearly at the o'clock now, so I don't know if anyone else has any burning comments or questions about the article that they want to add before we kind of wrap up.
I think even when an article seems to have lots of shortcomings, as in this example, it's still very very instructional.
Agreed.
In its own way. Partly, you know, obviously because of the data provided, but also perhaps because an example of, you know, how to be a terrible warning. What is that saying? You know, I don't know whether to be a wonderful example or a terrible warning. You know, that of how going down certain research routes or conceptual routes can be something of a dead end, I think, possibly.
Okay, on those positive ending words.
I was trying to be
I feel like we've
positive.
all been there, started doing some kind of analysis and found that it maybe doesn't work, maybe
Yeah.
as well as we thought it might, or at least
Yeah.
or even that we think it works, and then the readers or the peer reviews just don't see our vision for it. I feel like that's been my life for the last 2.5 years. There's
Oh,
been having
really?
visions about how things should or could be analyzed, and then peer reviewers saying, yeah, no, this just doesn't work, sorry.
I think it's a problem that we all have. I certainly have it. You know, if you're doing any kind of sort of project like this, you have to sort of constantly zoom in and then zoom out, and then zoom in again and then zoom out again to try and get a perspective. Because otherwise you can get lost. I've been in situations sometimes where you're right down in some detail and you actually forget, or I forget, why am I doing this? And you have to zoom out.
Yeah, been there. So I think it's probably time to thank everyone for coming, and the journal staff and any editorial board members, if you want to stay. I don't know if we've got anything major to discuss.
Well,